Hey guys, Maruli here. Today we will be creating the iconic L'amour Flute bag by Kimhekim in CLO3D. We will begin by creating the main body of the purse. I'm going to do 40 centimeters across and 11 for the height. I will rotate this to the right because I will be working with a symmetry on the y-axis. Let's bring it to the center here. Duplicate a symmetric piece on the other side. I want to create the rectangle piece which will connect these two over here. That will be 11 plus 40 plus 11 one more time. I will create a new rectangle. It's going to be 62 cm wide and 10 cm tall. And actually this needs a symmetry on the longer side over here. So I will be halving it and then unfolding it with symmetric sewing. I'm going to sew everything together, starting from the top, and then superimpose on the side. Freeze these two pieces for now, and I will be using trim full grain leather for my fabric property, so everything is nice and stiff. And I want this seam line's fold angle to be lower than 80 and closer to 90 degrees. I will also lower the particle distance early on so we can see a bit more of the detail. And then I'm going to connect these two here. It's going to be 5 plus 5. I'm going to offset the pattern outline by 15 millimeters. And then sew this over here, this up. Unfreeze these pieces and freeze the middle one for now. I'm also going to bring it a bit upward because right now it's colliding with the ground. And I also need to connect these two to each other. Amazing. The design is curved around the corners here. I will start with the lower part. Using the smooth tool, click and drag and then right click to add the precise value. 10 is fine for this. Let's do it on the top as well. And then before doing the same on the other corners, I want to bring these points a bit inwards to create a sort of a trapezoid shape. And then again with the smooth curve tool, I'm going to smooth this corner by 25 millimeters. On the other side as well. And now these sides are actually a bit smaller than before, so we need to adjust the centerpiece to match. We can see that they have a difference now of 25.2 millimeters. So let's adjust that. And before I simulate, I will cut it right here so I can freeze the bottom part to keep the shape intact. And I will proceed to add the zipper right down the middle. Create a line and offset it by 5 on each side. I'm going to cut and sew over here. We also need these little pieces which keep the end and start of the zipper clean. So I will select the top and bottom lines, offset internally by 15 millimeters and then cut and sew. I'm going to bring in the picture of the bag so I can trace the heart shapes where the handles are attached. We can be more precise this way. Adjust its size to match my bag. And make sure to take your time while tracing to ensure the shape is nice and smooth. Amazing. I can get rid of this picture now and mirror it on the other side. To make sure it's nice and aligned, I will create a line reaching the outline and then mirror them together. I need a closed shape over here so I can trace it as a pattern. Let's create a rectangle for the handle, 60 centimeters long and 6 centimeters wide. Make the bottom here come in a bit like a trapezoid, where it will be connected to the heart. Split the handle in half and unfold it later. Merge over here so it's one piece. And then unfold to the other side. This will be attached to this side. Let's go ahead and sew it over here. Same on the other side. And also I need to sew the handle closed. I'm gonna superimpose and see what happens here. So the inner side is sewing. I don't want that. I will use the select mesh tool to pull and adjust until everything looks right. There we go. And now I can just mirror it to the other side. Boom. And use the pin tool to keep them in place. Now that our base is ready, I will freeze the body of the purse and layer clone them over, all of those. Of course, I will unfreeze these pieces, deactivate the handles just for now and hide them. We can remove the linked editing to make these related to each other so we can work faster. I will merge these because we don't want that seam line along the edge here. And I want to create that sort of curved look around here, and the way to do that is by adding some internal lines. Offset as internal lines 2 times by 2 millimeters. Great. And I will select the middle one, the middle line, and lower this fold angle. You can see the shape change while I adjust this to create the outer layer effect. To add the trim around the edge, so let's measure it to make sure they match. It is 552 millimeters, 2 millimeters, sew it there, on the other part over here. I can of course freeze everything that I don't want to move, and I can also hide these colors so they are not distracting me. I'm gonna use a really low particle distance for this one, superimpose it over, and hit simulate. I definitely need a softer fabric for this to help it simulate better. We have a collision here, probably because of the freezing. Let's unfreeze. And I think we can also use a softer fabric for the outer shell. Let's see how this looks. Create a new one. I think a denim will work nicely with this one. I can also adjust the properties until I'm happy with the result. Now I can mirror this to the other side. Alright, and then I can activate these ones, but I need to sew them on the outer parts and not on the lining. Delete these sewing lines and sew it over here. And we also need internal lines here to add the top stitching. Select everything and offset as internal lines by 2, and then once more by 7 millimeters. And I need these lines on the body of the bag as well, so offset by 2, and then this one by 7, and then I can sew them together. Now we can actually remove the first one. This creates this beautiful edge, now that it's not connected to the bag. Let's add some texture to our zipper. I added them here as graphics, one for the tape and one for the teeth. Adjust its size and position. Bring in the teeth as well. And then tile on the y-axis. I will also bring in my zip slider here as a trim, glue it on there, and then adjust accordingly. Bring in the puller in the same way, open it up and then move it. Let's use the default top stitch, but bring the offset to 0. Let's see how this looks. I will make it a bit thicker and also the stitch a bit longer. To make it more realistic, I will add some additional thickness, 1 for these, 2 for these ones next to the zipper. These ones can be 2 as well. Or 1 is fine actually, since there is overlap. And for these small ones, I'm gonna go with 2. Finally, we need some top stitching near the zipper. I'm gonna copy this one, offset it just a bit, and add it here and here. And finally, to bring the model to life, I added colors as well as material properties. Now you have everything you need to create your own bag in CLO3D. See you in the next one!